Welcome to our video tutorial about the statistical features of MAXQDA Analytics Pro. The Stats module can be used for two types of data. You can statistically analyze your MAXQDA data, or open a quantitative dataset created, for example, in SPSS or Excel. For this tutorial, we'll select to work with the data from our MAXQDA project. Once you start Stats, a new window opens up with new menu options at the top and 3 tabs at the bottom. The Data Editor is the first tab you'll see. This tab contains the heart of your project, the raw data. Every row stands for one case, or MAXQDA document, and each variable is put in a column. You can sort the table by columns, filter them by values, and easily modify entries with a simple double click. To create new variables or modify existing ones, I switch to the Variable List tab. To create a new variable, click on this button over here, enter a name, and set the variable type. It's also possible to define value labels or missing values just like you're used to from other statistical software packages. The third tab, called Output Viewer, is like a storage space for your results. Every result window in Stats has a button to save the current display in the Output Viewer. Here are some outputs I already produced, but let's start adding our own by looking at some frequencies. On the left is my list of variables, and while working with MAXQDA data, there is also a tab with a list of my codes. Here are my frequencies for the marital status of my participants. What's great about the result tables in MAXQDA is that they are customizable. I can delete, rearrange, or merge rows, and as you can see, MAXQDA automatically recalculates the table. For MAXQDA data, these outputs can also be used to modify your MAXQDA project. Here, for example, you can right-click on a row to save the underlying documents as a document set for later use. These arrows let me skip through the results for all the selected codes and variables. And these buttons over here copy any current display to the output viewer or directly to the clipboard. I can also display descriptive statistics, for example, to check what the average age of my participants is. Switching to the chart viewer with this button here visualizes my numbers in a chart or diagram. Now, this display of the age distribution is a bit too detailed for my purposes. What I want are the age groups instead. For this, I need to recode the age variable into a new variable, which I can do here. Select a variable from the left and enter a name for the new variable. The recode window is rather self-explanatory. Enter the old values on the left and the new values on the right. The one thing you need to know about this recode window is that every rule overwrites the preceding ones if they touch on the same variable values. So, to group my age variable, I simply narrow them down like this. If we look at the descriptive frequencies for my new age group variable now, the participants are nicely grouped together. Besides looking at basic frequencies, you can also display all the commonly used descriptive measures in a table. Let's move on and look at the relationships between multiple variables with a crosstab. I want to look at the relationship between our new age group variable and mentioning insecurity. So I'll select the age variable from the columns and some of my codes as rows. Now we see the first of my codes called jobs lost, with the values 0 and 1, which represents whether this topic was mentioned by the participant. You can also display different types of frequencies, percentages, and residuals. So here we see that given the frequency of the group 60 to 69, 18 people mentioning jobs lost were to be expected. but only 4 people from this age group actually mentioned this topic. You can also visualize such discrepancies between measured and expected values by clicking on this button over here. The button to the right will again show you some descriptive measures concerning the relationship between those two variables. Groups can also be compared with an analysis of variance, or ANOVA. This feature provides you with additional information and measures and allows you to produce a table that splits up your results for every single factor of your independent variable. The next menu entry enables you to calculate the 2 most commonly used correlation coefficients, Pearson's R and Spearman's Rho. After you enter the variables, you'll get a well-arranged table that also allows you to highlight significant correlations for better oversight. Now let's say I've identified a few items that I want to combine in a scale. To support this task, I can perform a reliability analysis using cronbach's alpha. After selecting the items I want to combine, they're shown in this list. The item which has the lowest correlation to all the other items in this list is highlighted in red, and you can see in the last column what cronbach's alpha would look like if you exclude it. Once you've finished, you can create your scale by clicking on this button here. Finally, let's take a closer look at the output viewer. To use any of the outputs in a report or presentation, right-click on an entry to the left, copy it to the clipboard, and paste it, for example, in a Word document. Everything stays nicely formatted, which makes it easy to share your research with others. That's all for today. Happy analyzing.